grace flows down. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Amazing love, now flowing down from hands and feet that were nailed to the tree. As grace flows down, it covers me. It covers me. It covers me. It covers me. And covers me. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Amazing love, now flowing down from hands and feet that were nailed to the tree. As grace flows down, it covers me. Covers me. It covers me. It covers me. And covers me. And covers me. And covers me.
First Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31. Whether you eat or drink, or whatever you do, singing praises to God, whatever we do for entertainment, whatever you do everything to bring honor to God. We forget that a lot of times. We get so wrapped up in what we're doing. And so today, I am very health conscious. It's one of my, I guess it's one of my favorite things to talk about, but it's also one of my favorite things to demonstrate in my own life. And I I had to say one of the major tenets of the Seventh-day Adventist Church is health. We believe the Bible is filled with advice and with counsel about how to be healthy. And so I don't apologize for presenting lots of messages about health. I think I presented one maybe 6 weeks ago or a couple months ago. But let's bow our heads as we begin. Lord, it's a marvelous thing to think that our Creator listens to us, puny little old us. But you are God, and we are people. And you hear us. You answer, and we're just so thankful for that. It gives us so much hope. It gives us courage to face the future. Go with us now as we continue through our worship service today. In Jesus' name, amen. Postponing funerals, your own. That's what our message is about today. God's Word encourages healthy bodies, healthy minds, healthy hearts, healthy relationships with God and with our fellow man. It all has to do with health. It brings about wonderful levels of spiritual health when we're in good relationship, healthy relationship with God and our fellow man. This week, Joanne and I went to Psycho Bar. People always get, oh, and there's Jennifer, my daughter, who introduced us to this wonderful thing called Psycho Bar. She's been going for 7 years. She's got over 3,000 rides. And she was celebrated big time down there at Psycho. Anyway, Psycho Bar is not a place where you go to drink, although you drink your water. Psycho Bar is where you pedal on this stationary bike, and they have bars there that are different weights, and you lift these bars sometimes during your ride while you're pedaling, and all of this, and you know that kind of, it's a workout. Mark back there. Anything named Brodus? You know, they're good exercise people. Anyway, sometimes at this Psycho Bar, they have other businesses come in, and they will have little demonstrations of things on a table outside as we're passing by to go home. They'll have these there either to demonstrate. You can take a sample or you can purchase these things. And this Tuesday, Jennifer, they had cakes and little pies and little cookies and a box of hot fudge, or box of fudge there. Chocolate fudge. Did you see that? And I'm thinking, you know, we came here to get healthy, and we can take this stuff home and get sick. I just didn't quite understand. Some years ago, there was a survey taken in one of the cities here in America. It was a survey of 156 questions to find out the number one concern of adults in our country. The number one concern of most adults in America is health, at least at that time. Now, it may be that since that was taken several years ago, the number one concern may have changed a little bit, but health is still one of the high priorities of adults in our country. Now, I keep saying adults because teenagers, you know, these young people have these bodies and they run around and they do all these kinds, and they don't always think about their health and what it's going to be like when they're 30, 40, 50, 60s and what they've done to their bodies in those early ages. They always need to be conscious of that. I must admit that since this survey was taken, as I mentioned, the concerns may have changed, but health is still there. This thing called COVID-19 most likely had a lot to do with their concern over health because it took a lot of lives. It's a real paradox when we have more doctors, more hospitals, more medicines, more knowledge about how to care for sickness and disease and pandemics, more pills and capsules and vitamins, simple forms of fruits and vegetables, you know, those little capsules, than any time in history. but we have never had more sickness and general ill health that plagues the human family than we have today. Why is that? Well, millions suffer today from the side effects of living with the wrong habits, harmful eating and drinking. In spite of wonderful programs in medical research, we have people dying long before their time, long before they need to, long before they should. I'm a minister, so you might guess that I believe in what the Bible has to say about anything, any topic that's there, and health is one of those. And the Bible has a lot of counsel on health. I believe in the Bible with faith that's unending. The Bible is my source of life. So when it comes to health, and the questions we might have on the subject, I go to the Bible. I've mentioned before that I believe that some medical people, and that means doctors, are paid. I just somehow believe this, are paid by the pharmaceutical companies to push certain pills. I just believe that happens. Now, of course, they're not going to tell you that. But I think that happens, and it pays some dishonest medical people for you to stay sick. It does. It pays them. That's how they make their money, for you to be sick. And that's a terrible commentary on the medical world. I've also mentioned that I hear about a new medication almost weekly on the TV. I'll be watching some program and here comes a commercial about some medication that I've never heard of. It's brand new. I don't know how many medications are passed on to the public on a yearly basis. There must be a dozen new medical procedures or pills. And I also believe that some of these liquids and capsules and medications are as deadly as the disease that they say that they are trying to cure. A man named William Osler once said, "The desire to take medicine is perhaps the greatest feature that distinguishes man from animals." So what does the Bible say? Listen to Exodus chapter 15, verse 26. This is a book written, of course, by Moses and directed by God to write these things, instructed by God that created all of us. He says in Exodus 15, 26, from the Clear Word Bible, the Lord said to Moses, "If you will listen to me and do what is right, if you will keep my commandments and laws, I will not let any of you come down with the diseases of the Egyptians." They were in bondage, you remember, to the Egyptians. "I will heal you, for I am the Lord." That's the Clear Word Bible. I want you to listen to the King James Bible. "If thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and wilt do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon you, which I have brought upon the Egyptians. For I am the Lord that healeth thee." From these words in the Bible, it's clear that any person can postpone their own funeral. If we spent more time in God's Word, the Bible, we would find out about the laws of health that God has passed on to us so that we will be healthy and remain healthy. It's not the will of God that epidemics and pandemics should wipe out millions of people from around us, from this earth, and into an early grave. So why is there so much suffering and disease in the world today? I think there are mainly two reasons. One is that we know that there's a Satan. We know that there's a devil out there that has caused death and destruction ever since the Garden of Eden. We know that. That's in Genesis and all through the Bible, really. The second reason is we know that a majority of those who are suffering from diseases are violating the laws that govern our health. It's as simple and plain as that. Just as there are laws that govern nature and gravity, there are also laws that govern our body's health. And those laws are just as predictable and certain as health, as gravity laws or nature laws. Listen to Paul as he speaks to the Galatians. He says, "Don't be deceived and think you can snub God." I love some of the words that the Clear Word Bible uses, that you can snub God. Whatever a man sows, that's what he'll reap. We all know that if a man falls off the roof of his house, he's going to suffer from the laws of gravity. Doesn't matter how old or how rich or whether male or female or young or whatever, the body is going to travel downward and the person is going to be seriously injured or killed. Someone said, it is not the fall that kills a person, it's that sudden stop. We all know that. We know today that lung cancer is one of the deadliest of all diseases anywhere. But few people are aware that fully 1/3, listen, 1/3 of all cancers of the human body occur in the stomach. 1/3. And half of all those cancers are found in the organs of digestion, including the liver, the pancreas, the small intestine, and the colon. The reason for these large numbers should be obvious to everyone. The lungs get assailed by and attacked by hot tars going into them every time we puff on a cigarette. That's poison. But some feel the stomach is the most abused organ in the human body. Dr. James Ewing is one of the founders of the American Cancer Society, and he made this statement in a little tract entitled The Prevention of Cancer. He said, "The perpetual abuse of a normal stomach frequently gives rise to cancer, and an abnormally weak stomach may suffer the same fate from less abuse. In both instances, abuse and overfunction must be regarded as the exciting cause. The stomach is not lined with copper, but by a single row of rather delicate epithelial cells. The sole safe conclusion to be drawn from these data is that all forms of abuse of the stomach must be avoided if the high mortality from this very common disease is to be reduced." Dr. James Ewing. If we could sit at the dining table of many of the American homes, we would find that men, women, and children are putting atrocious things into their mouths and stomachs. In some homes, there are only 2 tests to what they want to eat. One is, how does it taste? And the other is, what kind of nice, pleasant after effect is there? It's no wonder that obesity is one of the major health issues of our country. Look at this word, death. 3/5 of that word is eat. 3/5. I'm well aware that parents want their children to eat something, anything. The child may not want the food that the mom has prepared. As a result, the little child gets to choose their own food. The food they choose is not what they should be putting into little stomachs. We had a dog. His name was Nick. We adopted this dog when Jennifer was born. We brought this little baby home when, the dog had been adopted, and I laid her on the floor. She doesn't remember this. She was days old. I laid her on the floor, and I thought, we got to get the dog used to Jennifer. I laid her on the floor, and he sniffed her, and that was great. From then on, she was part of the family. But that was completely beside the story I want to share with you. Anyway, I just get lost sometimes. this dog, his name was Nick, and he was a great dog. He was just a mutt, but we adopted him from a dog pound in Chicago. And I don't know what they fed him in this dog pound. It must have been something that he really liked, because we fed him some of our dog food, put it on the floor, and he wouldn't eat it. He refused to eat it. My wife got worried about him. But this dog's going to starve. I said, no, he won't. He'll eat it. Sooner or later, he'll eat it. Waited about 2 days. Dog hadn't eaten anything out of the bowl. It was sitting on the floor. About the third day, he started eating this stuff. And he got so he liked it. Our tastes can change. Our taste can change. We can change our taste. We can change it from that perverted, salt-soaked, grease-soaked, sweet things that we love to take into our body, and we can train our taste. Now I'm going to confess, an appetite weakness that I had. One day we were in Costco and we bought a big bag of Kettle brand crinkle cut Himalayan salted potato chips. A big bag. Man, those things tasted so good. Man, they were good. And I suppose a week, 10 days went by, and we were eating these chips, and we savored every bite of every chip. I mean, they were just so good to our taste. You got to know why we bought this first bag. It said right on the front, Jennifer, vegan. It said right on, gluten-free. So, what could go wrong? I mean, those things really tasted good. You probably had some, I don't know. They were cooked just right, and they were salted just right, and they were, oh man, they were crunchy. I can taste them right now. And so can you, right? Well, we finally got to the bottom portion of this bag and noticed that there was a lot of oil on the chips. Jennifer shaking her head. And there was a lot of oil on these chips, and when we got clear to the bottom, there was little chips down there, and they were soaked in oil. And there was oil all over the inside of the bag. And I thought, man, these are soaked with oil. It's probably not good for us. So we decided to come up with excuses because these chips were so good. And we said, it's probably just fluke. Somebody putting the oil on these chips probably made a mistake. So let's try another bag. So we did. We tried another bag, and man, it was better than the first bag. I'll tell you, we were in hog heaven, eating these chips like they were no tomorrow. But when we got to the bottom, it was the same thing. There was oil all over these chips. I mean, you had to wipe your hands off it between chips. And got to the bottom, and these little chips, but we ate them. We sat there and ate these oil-soaked chips. Now what happens? We gone through 2 bags. We thought, we better cut those out. But we're walking down the aisle at Costco where those chips are. And we just couldn't pass them up. we couldn't pass these up. We got the 3rd bag. Same thing. They said gluten-free. What could be wrong? And I found out that only 9 of these chips has 15 grams of carbs, 9 grams of fat, and 150 calories. 9 chips. Who eats 9 chips? Nobody. I don't eat 9 chips, Tammy. I eat 4 or 5 times that or more. The point of this story is that we had to retrain our taste, and we can walk by those now and not, we can still taste them, but we don't pick them up. There was a man named Paul Bragg who wrote a famous cookbook. And in this cookbook, he states, and this is probably 4 or 5 slides long, but the average person, he says, is poisoning himself day by day with the food he eats. Most people eat with their eyes. Did you know that? Most people eat with their eyes. If the food looks good, they do not question whether it is healthful, or death-dealing. Few people know the right kind of food to put into their bodies to keep them well and strong, or take the time to select this food if they do know. From birth to old age, the average individual never experiences the taste of real, natural food. Our tiny, sensitive taste buds have been for generations so polluted by unnatural, artificially seasoned, and stimulating foods that most of us are unable to appreciate the fine, delicate flavor of the natural foods. Foods must be fixed. And he goes through, I bet, 50 descriptions here. Foods must be fixed, hashed, mashed, smashed, boiled, broiled, stewed, baked, pickled, preserved, flavored, salted, creamed, dried, roasted, fried, greased, peppered, vinegar-laden, smoked, toasted, crushed, rolled, there's more, mealed, oiled, fermented, beaten, sweetened, spiced, soured, peeled, shredded, steamed, braised, colored, and otherwise seasoned in order to offer an appeal to the civilized man. Civilized man is not satisfied with the food the Maker, God, has supplied him and must do something with it before he feels that it's fit for him to eat. Oh, boy. It's no wonder that more than 25 tons of aspirin are swallowed every single day in the United States. 25 tons. I tried to figure out how many aspirin that was, but I couldn't figure it out. It's a very strange paradox in our world today, that though people fear sickness above every other enemy, we do almost nothing about taking care of it until after the disease has struck. Someone said, in a year's time, out of every medical doctor spent by the American people, 95 cents was spent to get well, and 5 cents were spent on preventative medicine. Jerry Seinfeld said, I was in the drugstore the other day trying to get a cold medication. There's an entire wall, he says, of products you need. You stand there going, well, this one is quick acting, but this one is long lasting. So which is more important, the present or the future? That's how we pick our medicine, I guess. That's at least how he was talking about it. Our body is a machine. It runs on fuel. The fuel, of course, is the food we eat. All the parts of the human body, the nerves, the bones, the muscles, the blood, the cells, are dependent upon good nutrition that we give it. The Bible is very clear about diets and foods. God gave us an original diet and then allowed clean meat to come in. Introduced it to our diet. Of course, there are those who feel that all meat has now been cleansed and everything is fine for us to eat. I don't care who you are or what credentials you have behind your name, and I've said this before, I'll probably say it again. If you teach or believe that God has allowed all animals that were declared unclean at one time to be clean now, you need to go back to school and get re-educated. You just do. Maybe to a different school. In a book titled Counsels on Diet and Foods, I read this quote: a failure to care for the living machinery is an insult to the Creator. There are divinely appointed rules which, if observed, will keep human beings from disease and permanent death, premature death. Counsels on Diet and Foods, page 16. Millions of people are insulting God. We're insulting God. Their tastes are perverted by the devil, just like he's perverted every other good thing that God has given us. There are those who ask, well, what does this have to do with my religion? Why is God concerned about my health? It's my body. I can take care of it the way I want. The simple answer for Christians, and the question asked so many times is, why isn't it my own body? Can I take care of it myself? And the answer, if you're a Christian, is no. It's not your body. Paul tells us in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, do you realize that when you became a Christian, your body became a temple of the Holy Spirit to live in? His presence in you is a gift to you from God. So your body belongs to Him. You've been bought with a price, therefore honor God with your bodies. One woman named Felicity Lucky said, we are what we consistently eat. Healthy eating is not an act, but a habit. I hope you will take the advice and counsel that the Bible and the Spirit of prophecy has given us time and time and time again. People who are in their 20s and 30s and 40s today will benefit when they are in their 60s and 70s and 80s if they listen to the Bible and obey what God has given us for our health. Someone said, a year from now, you'll wish you started today. Start a healthy journey today, would you? Just begin. It's never too late to work on our health. And you really can postpone your own funeral.
I see shattered, you see whole. I see broken, but you see beautiful. And you're helping me to believe. You're restoring me piece by piece. There's nothing too dirty that you can't make worthy. You wash me in mercy. I am clean. There's nothing too dirty that you can't make worthy. You wash me in mercy. I am clean. What was dead now lives again. My heart's beating, beating inside my chest. Oh, I'm coming alive with joy and destiny, 'cause you're restoring me piece by piece. There's nothing too dirty that you can't make worthy. You wash me in mercy. I am clean. There's nothing too dirty that you can't make worthy. You wash me in mercy. I am clean. Washed in the blood of your sacrifice, your blood flowed red and made me white. My dirty rags are purified. I am Your blood flowed red and made me white. My dirty rags are purified. I am clean. Washed in the blood of your sacrifice. Your blood flowed